SourceFedNerd Anime Club, it's me Jenny aka ClassyLibrarian, and this week's anime was Tonari no Seki-kun, The Master of Killing Time. And my quick review for this is, although I think everyone on the planet can empathise with this story because it's so relatable and so familiar in terms of the overall concept, which is either being distracted in class by someone who is procrastinating or being bored and procrastinating in class. And it's so relatable to anyone who has been through the school system, who's been through university or is past all of that but thinking about their childhood, because everyone has been on both sides of the table at some point. And it's amazing how oblivious teachers are. In fact, watching this I was surprised by how oblivious the teachers were, and then I remembered a particular occasion where some girls decided to pierce their ears during art class, and the teacher didn't notice that they were doing this until one of them fainted, and even then didn't realise the reason for her fainting was because someone had shoved a sewing needle through her earlobe. That being said, I don't know whether or not I recommend this series. It's very cutesy, it's very light-hearted, it does have quite a lot of fun, and the familiarity is really lovely. It's got a nice sense of nostalgia to it. It's very simple, bright, light sort of colours. They're kind of nice characters. There's a lot of interesting ways that this boy uses to use up his time, whether it's from really very cool dominoes with his erasers, or whether it's polishing his desk in a slightly obsessive compulsive manner. And they're things that people do, but he does it to a whole other level. He takes procrastination to an art, and he is incredibly creative. He's definitely got a huge sense of spatial reasoning and physically able to handle a lot of things. He's clearly very highly intelligent, but he just doesn't focus in class. And so you can tell why this girl, who is Rumi, has so much trouble focusing in class, because if someone next to me was doing that every lesson, I would find it very hard to block it out. And he's so creative that, you know, you can see why she's getting very into it. On the other hand, she can get very irritating, particularly the fact that she's very vocal. She does a lot of screaming and crying out, and it's very exciting, but at least to begin with it's very hard to tell whether or not it's internalised or externalised, so you don't understand why no one else in the class is turning around and telling them to shh. And it does get irritating as a noise in its own right. You can understand where she's coming from, but marathoning through this like I did, it does get a bit repetitive and a bit tedious. I would recommend perhaps watching the first episode and the last episode, because they sum up the plot lines. It's very compact, and it's not enough that any of the jokes get a bit tedious. You can marathon your way through this, which is what I did. It will take you an hour. If you miss out the opening song and the ending song, you can watch this in under an hour. It's a very short series, but it does get a bit repetitive in places because it is a theme of the week rather than an arc-based story. So if you watch the first episode and the last episode, you get all of the fun without too much of the repetitive boringness. I don't know whether or not there's going to be more to this series, or whether or not it finishes on 10 episodes. I maybe will watch this on a week-to-week basis, on, just a little light-hearted, childlike humour, just to remind me of my school days. But I don't think I'd watch this again, or marathon through it again, because some of the things do get very tedious. So would I recommend it? I would definitely recommend watching the first episode and the last episode. Maybe not the whole thing, definitely not once, unless you have time to spare and have a very high tolerance for screaming, over-the-top empathy. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please feel free to comment down below and tell me how terrible my pronunciation is. I was away last week because I wanted a holiday, but if you want to comment down below and say anything about anything, go ahead and do that, and hopefully this review was okay. I will admit that it took me more than one take, because apparently my words don't work after 1 week off, but there you go. I will see you guys all next week. Bye guys.